Reaction to the anatomy of the narcissistic boss. This was a video that was done originally by Dr. Ramani on her YouTube channel. I will put that video link in the description section. This is for Black women in toxic jobs. So even though Dr. Ramani and I am talking about this topic, I want to be clear that I'm not diagnosing anyone. I am talking about what she has shared in this video. I'm going to give reflections about it as well. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a toxic job survivor, but more importantly, I like to say that I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women, and I'm also the co-host with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. We ushered over 300 Black women to freedom. So in terms of learning about how to replace your income, how to get that financial exit plan together, what to do about your health insurance, your life insurance, your retirement, all of that. If you want to access the replay, that is in the description section. So let's talk about this video. So when I was watching this video, I was having so many aha moments. So I'm going to break down, just like it was done in Dr. Ramani's video, I'm going to break down what she talked about in terms of the anatomy of a narcissistic boss. I'm going to break it down, and then I'm going to give reflections in terms of my own experiences. So she said, interestingly, that narcissistic people are more likely to go into leadership positions. That's interesting, huh? And she said that narcissistic abuse or having these interactions with others can actually derail people's career. It can lead to long-term damage in terms of psychological harm, and it can also mirror other traumas they've had in their lives. So this is why it's so important to talk about this topic. So I'm going to, again, break it down as Dr. Ramani did. So she said, one, the anatomy, one aspect is that they're lacking of integrity. So they have a lack of empathy for others. There's this callousness, this is of entitlement. Like, I deserve to be in this position. Everybody needs to like bow down to me, and I'm the ultimate ruler, almost like a dictatorship. And it's very interesting because they present themselves this way, but they also try to present themselves as very honorable, even though they're causing harm to other people. So that's noteworthy. Okay. So the anatomy breakdown: one, lacking of integrity; two, lying a lot and gaslighting to make themselves look good. So as I'm going through this anatomy, it might be useful for you to think about, reflect on your own experiences as well. And may you be having a similar experience, okay? So, lying a lot and gaslighting to make themselves look good. So, they may present themselves as like they're the savior of the company or they're the savior to other people, even though a lot of the employees there are really struggling with low employee morale. So, if you're the savior, why are your employees really so unhappy at that job? The other thing is that they may present themselves, I'm sorry, I laugh because the hypocrisy is too much. Okay. So I'm, again, thinking about my own experiences. So they may present themselves as trauma experts. So that was the case in my situation as well. The workplace bully presented herself as if she was the trauma expert, yet she was causing most of the trauma in the entire unit or division. Okay. So it was a total disconnect about what she was doing. So she presented a trauma expert, but she's the traumatizer. Okay. The other thing, again, I probably shouldn't laugh at this, but I need to laugh. This is my coping mechanism. Okay. So something else that I experienced, and again, as I am talking about it and I'm breaking down the anatomy, I invite you to think about your own experiences. And for me, humor is a coping response. So as I'm thinking about my own experiences, sometimes these spontaneous moments of laughter come up. Okay. So another example that I had with the workplace bully was that there was a meeting one time and she had a small group of us. And she said, she'd been reading about positive psychology and that, she's been reading this and she's come aware that so many people in the unit were just really struggling, really hurting. And it took everything in me not to just burst out and start laughing. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, do you know that you are the source of all of this? But again, this might be something similar to you, as if the person is totally disconnected about what's happening in real life, and they may gaslight you about what is actually happening because they're disconnected from what they're actually doing. Number three, playing favorites triangulation and gossiping. There was so much gossiping in the work environment that I was in. It was unbelievable. So people who would act like they were friendly with each other, but just, I knew about so many people's personal business that I did not want to know. I don't want to know these people. I don't like to gossip. I don't want to know their personal business. Don't tell me. But they would just freely tell people's personal business, which is very disturbing. So just think about if people may have said something in confidence and now all these people know about their personal business. And it's a way, in a lot of ways, for the narcissistic boss to get information about people so they can use that information against them. It's a way of control. And I absolutely witnessed that. Now, what was very interesting was the workplace bully was trying to get me to tell her information about my personal life, but I had already seen how she was a gossiper and her minions and people, they were gossipers too. So I was very mindful most of the time of what information about my personal life that I shared. So what part of my personal life can I share that I would be okay with other people knowing? But I remember one time I was at this event or whatever, and it was the workplace bully and her friend. And so they turned to me and they said, "Tell me about your life." And I was like, "Oh, this is a setup," right? So I just told like very kind of like, things again, I would be okay with other people knowing, but be very mindful in the workplace when people try to get into your personal business, particularly the workplace bully or the narcissistic boss, because they can be using this information against you. Okay. Also, she mentioned, Dr. Romani mentioned that the narcissistic boss will do things and try to figure out who are the people in the workplace that they need to silence? Who are the people that might call them out? Who are the people who are not kind of going along and bowing down to them? Because those people become the target. So that was me. I became the target because I did not, you know, play along and, kind of appease the workplace bully narcissistic boss because I saw how this person, how she was harming many people. And so part of what happened to me was that I became the target of it. And so that might be what happens to you. So when you refuse to be silenced about things in the workplace that are wrong, then they may come for you. So just be aware of that as well. Also, in that video, she talked about that many times a narcissistic boss is like the puppet master. So they're behind the scenes, kind of making things happen. So those people that she's controlling, those are her enablers. She also talked about, she said enablers. She also talked about their flying monkeys, okay, their minions. So in the workplace, it may not be the narcissistic boss or the workplace bully who is directly doing things to you. They may be behind the scenes having other people do these things to you. And it's very cowardly behavior. So they would, kind of blame other people. Oh, that wasn't me. But they were telling the person what to do. And then those minions are just following along because they have some expectation of some type of reward or that they will be spared in some ways because they are doing this dirty work for the narcissistic boss. Okay. So that is very interesting. Something else in the video that I really appreciated was she talked about that many people in the workplace. So when I talked about the poor morale, and again, I invite you to think about this in your workplace. She talked about that many people in the workplace are on edge, they're fearful, they're concerned about retaliation, which is very appropriate that they would have that fear because they have seen what has happened to people who have stood up to narcissistic boss, right? So that's absolutely what happened to me. And I've talked about that in my previous videos where people that I was cool with or in some kind of way, that when they saw what was happening to me, that it was just a lot of people just vanished. And these were not people that I really considered like my, close friends. However, it was a stark, a noticeable way to distance themselves from me because the fear that they were going to be next, that they in some ways affiliated with me. Okay. And I understand that. And I harbor no resentment towards people for that because they were concerned about their own safety and their own job security. For me, I knew that I wanted out of that place. So I felt a little bit more liberated in speaking my truth and speaking out about things that the workplace bully was doing and her inappropriate behaviors. Okay. So something else that was mentioned in relation to the playing favorites and triangulation and the gossiping is that the workplace bully, and I've done other videos about this too, that usually the star performers in the workplace are often the targets of workplace bullying or the targets of the narcissistic boss. Because, and I'm going to quote her, she said, was paraphrased, but Dr. Ramani said, if you are too innovative, this will threaten, this will threaten or shatter the narcissistic boss's fragile ego. That was so on point when she said that. And she talked about when this happens, the narcissistic boss is so focused on them not getting the attention that they don't care that whatever innovation is happening can actually improve the organization. They're focused on they're not the center of attention. So they might undermine any progress because they're not the center of attention. How many of us have experienced that? If you have, you can just write in the chat. Me too. I have experienced that too. Okay. And so she mentioned that these experiences can really stifle the workplace and really undermine any sense of progress because people don't want to be innovative because they see what's going on, and that this can turn your work environment from something that you were proud of. Maybe you were proud to work for a certain organization or proud of your work or proud of your whatever. It can turn from a sense of pride about that to a sense of just this hollow, like empty, like what is this about? Like questioning why you're even there, why you're even in that position. And that absolutely happened to me. 4, um, the narcissistic boss does not know how to give feedback. Okay. Also, they may struggle with poor boundaries. So that kind of ties into the gossiping that was mentioned before. But something that I experienced was when I would, there was, okay, I'll tell about the other example, but there was a situation where I was meeting with the workplace bully, narcissistic, whatever. I was meeting with her, and the way she talked, it was kind of like it was hard to understand or follow her sometimes. So I would try to summarize what she would say to make sure I had it accurate and really identify what the next steps were. So I was clear about what she wanted me to do. We were on the same page, so there wouldn't be any issues, right? So one time I go in there, and it had gotten to a certain point where I had already talked to my supervisor and the assistant director that I did not want to be alone with this woman because I didn't feel safe with her because she would twist things around all the time and lie on you and all that kind of stuff. But this time, my supervisor and assistant director weren't available. So I had to meet with the workplace bully alone. And so I'm asking her for clarity. And she said, that's your problem. You have a problem with black and white thinking. You and your supervisor have a problem with black and white thinking. Now, she said my supervisor said, but not gonna say it here. But like lashing out at me and calling me that I had issues with black and white thinking because I can't follow what you're talking about because you're not clear in your own head, right? So that was one example. The other example was in terms of poor boundaries. It was brought to my attention that the workplace bully was saying very negative things about me in like kind of like a public um, situation where other people could hear her saying negative things about me. Now, keep in mind, I had never had a negative job evaluation. I've been promoted, never any negative feedback. But yes, she's talking about me in a negative way. So she's not coming to my face like Kamala Harris said, say it to my face, right? So she wasn't saying it to my face, but she was talking behind my back. And that may be happening to you in the workplace as well. And so again, that undermines that sense of psychological safety in the workplace and may make you question like, why would she be talking about me? Like, what else do I need to be doing? It is that person. It is that person. It's hard to see it in the moment. And so the last element that Dr. Ramani talked about in terms of the anatomy of a narcissistic boss was future fake. So she said that this is like love bombing, where they're saying all these wonderful things about you. Oh, you're just great. You're just great. Even though you talked about me the other day, but now I'm just so great, right? And it's usually because something you're doing is going to kind of like make them look better in some ways too. So I want to give you an example, and something Dr. Ramani said was they may do this to you because it's like they're trying to gas you up to make you kind of stay at the job longer or work harder. But there's nothing really good that's really going to happen from it. It's just a way to kind of just gas you up. So I have 2 examples in terms of what I experienced. So with the workplace bully, I had talked about this in previous videos as well, that I co-developed a training that was very well received in the district, right? So the unit that I was a part of didn't support it at all until other people throughout the district, the school district, started saying, "Oh, this training is so great," right? So the workplace bully had my colleague and I come present to a team of administrators. And so while we're waiting to set up for the training, the workplace bully catches my eye, right? So she's looking at me and she mouths, "I'm so proud of you." I felt so ick, like literally just ick. Like this woman has trashed me. She has done so many negative things to me. And now she wants to get my attention, tell me she's so proud of me. But she's mouthing it. She's not saying it out loud, but she's mouthing it. It was so bizarre and icky. And then when we had presented this a shortened version of the training at a district crisis team meeting, that's when we first launched it. She heard from other people that it was positively received, and she's, I see her as I'm kind of leaving the bathroom, and she's coming in. She said, "Oh, thank you so much." Okay, but again, this is the same woman trashed me and all this other stuff. Okay, so I want us to keep in mind something that Dr. Romani ended up saying. She said that we have to be very mindful when we're all in these situations and we assess that we might be dealing with someone who might exhibit these qualities that I've just talked about, that I've reflected on. Really look at yourself and look at what are your reasons for perhaps staying in this environment. Because she said something, and I agree with it. She said that if you think that you can outsmart or if you can outweight the workplace bully or the narcissistic boss, you are really setting yourself up in a lot of ways for failure. Because when we think about, again, a toxic boss, you're working in a toxic system. The system knows that this boss is toxic and they know that they have harmed people. They allow for this person to keep going on, and that emboldens the workplace bully, the toxic boss, the narcissistic boss. It emboldens them, and they will continue this behavior because in some way they have charmed people in upper management. Maybe they have something over on upper management. Maybe they have some type of relationship with people in upper management. You may never know. But the point is this: you may be setting yourself up for failure because you may be thinking you can outwork this person, you can expose this person, you can do all these things, but the system is not there to support you. And something that Dr. Romani said that I wanted to quote, she said, setting yourself up for failure, if you think you can fight or win against a toxic boss, is that you are continually putting yourself in a situation that is harming you. So she said, it is continuing to take pieces of your soul. When I heard that, that just really struck me to my core. Okay. So keep that in mind. So this video, again, is really to talk about the anatomy of a narcissistic boss. I'm going to share with you in another video about some tips that have been offered about what to do, how to handle yourself, how to protect yourself in these situations. So one thing is recognize that this is not a healthy environment. Maybe making your plans to start leaving. Your boundaries, very important. Maintain those boundaries. Also, document in real time what has been happening to you. So document at home, somewhere that's not at your job. Document in real time, the date, the time, right? So maybe when you get home from work, document what has happened to you and how that impacted you. So these are just some tips that I wanted to share with you. Again, the anatomy of a narcissistic boss. I would love to hear your thoughts about this video. If any parts of this video resonated with you, I really appreciated this video when I watched it. And so I felt really motivated to do a reaction to that. Okay. So again, I'll put the original video in the description section so you can watch that one as well. So as I'm signing off, please give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with at least 2 other Black women. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. And I will see you later. Okay, so remember, check out this video. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.